The throne room fell silent when Emperor spoke. His voice echoed across the crystal floors where 300 guards stood in perfect formation. These warriors came from every corner of the galaxy. Some had 4 arms, others had skin like metal. A few could see in complete darkness. All of them were the best fighters their worlds had ever produced. "You are dismissed," the Emperor said, "all of you." The silence broke. Whispers filled the massive hall. Lord stepped forward from the crowd of nobles. His blue skin turned darker with anger. "Your Radiance, what are you saying?" The Emperor stood from his throne. He was tall and thin, with silver scales that caught the light. He had ruled for 60 years. 7 assassins had tried to kill him. All 7 had failed. "I am replacing my entire guard with one person." The whispers became shouts. The guards looked at each other in confusion. Some reached for their weapons, then stopped. You did not draw weapons in the throne room, not unless you wanted to die. His voice rose above the noise. "One guard, your Radiance, this is madness. Who could possibly protect you alone?" The Emperor raised one long finger and pointed to the side of the room. Everyone turned to look. A human stood there. He was young, maybe in his 30s. He wore simple black clothing. A gun hung on his belt. An old-fashioned blade was strapped to his back. He looked ordinary. He looked weak. "His name is," the Emperor said. "He is human. He is now my only bodyguard." The throne room exploded with noise. Nobles shouted protests. Guards demanded explanations. War Champion, a massive creature with gray skin and 4 arms, laughed loudly. "A human! From Earth! Your Radiance, humans are barely space-capable. They discovered faster-than-light travel only 50 years ago. Their world is a backwater." The Emperor sat back down on his throne. He looked tired. "That is exactly why I chose him." Walked forward. His steps made no sound on the crystal floor. He moved like water, smooth and quiet. He stopped beside the throne and turned to face the crowd. His eyes were dark and calm. He did not smile. He did not frown. He just watched everyone with those dark, unreadable eyes. Ambassador stood among the human delegation. She felt sick to her stomach. She knew what this meant. She knew what the other species would think. Humans had worked so hard to be accepted into galactic society. They had tried to seem peaceful and civilized. Now the Emperor had chosen a human as his personal weapon. All that careful work was about to fall apart. Was not finished arguing. "Your Radiance, I must protest formally. This human cannot possibly defend you. Look at him. He carries primitive weapons. He has no armor. He is alone. What happens when a real threat comes?" "Then we will see," the Emperor said simply. A noble from the back spoke up. Her name was. She owned weapons factories on 12 worlds. "Your Radiance, my companies provide security forces across the galaxy. I can offer you the finest warriors available. Surely one untested human cannot match 300 proven guards." The Emperor leaned forward. His silver scales glowed brighter. When he spoke, his voice was cold. "Lady, do you know what I saw 3 months ago?" Nobody answered. There was a hostage situation on Trade Station 9. Pirates took control of the station. They held 200 civilians hostage. The station security tried to retake control. 47 security officers died in the first hour. The pirates threatened to kill all the hostages if anyone else tried to stop them. The crowd listened now, even was quiet. "Was on that station," the Emperor continued. "He was visiting with a trade delegation. When the pirates took over, he was eating lunch in a restaurant. Do you know what he did?" Silence. "He finished his meal. Then he walked to the command center where the pirates were broadcasting their demands. 7 pirates guarded the entrance. They had military-grade weapons. They had armor. They had hostages as shields, had a fork." Someone in the crowd gasped. "It took him 4 minutes to reach the command center. 6 minutes to disable all 17 pirates inside. 0 hostages died. When station security arrived, they found sitting at the communication console drinking coffee. The pirates were unconscious. Some would never walk again. Had used environmental systems, maintenance tools, and his bare hands. When the security chief asked him how he did it, he said it was obvious. He said the station was designed for civilians, so there were many weapons if you knew how to look. The emperor stood again. He walked down the steps from his throne until he stood in front of. That is when I understood. We have become soft. We build guards with armor and weapons and shields. We think protection comes from strength. But humans do not think that way. They think like predators. They see weapons everywhere. They understand violence in a way we have forgotten. His voice was quiet now. You want us to fear him. I want potential enemies to fear him, the emperor corrected. I want assassins to look at my bodyguard and decide that today is not a good day to die. I want conspirators to worry that their plans will fail before they begin. Fear is the best protection, and humans are very good at being frightening when they need to be. Still had not moved. He stood like a statue beside the throne, but his eyes never stopped moving. He watched every person in the room. He noted every hand that moved too quickly, every noble who looked away too fast, every guard whose breathing changed. He was reading them all like a hunter reads tracks in the forest. Wanted to speak. She wanted to argue that this was wrong, that it would make humans seem like monsters, that it would undo decades of diplomatic work, but she looked its face and said nothing. She recognized that expression. She had seen it before on soldiers, on fighters, on people who had seen too much violence and learned to be good at it. The emperor returned to his throne. The decision is made. My former guards will be reassigned to other duties with honor. Lord, you will oversee their new positions. This meeting is over. The nobles left slowly. Many looked back at as they walked away. Some looked angry. Some looked confused. Most looked afraid. And that realized was exactly what the emperor wanted. When the throne room was nearly empty, approached. The war champion towered over the human. 4 arms crossed over his massive chest. You do not look dangerous, human. Finally spoke. His voice was quiet and calm. Good. Laughed. We will see how long you last, little human. The emperor has many enemies. They will test you soon. I hope so, replied. His eyes met without fear. I need the practice. The war champion's laugh died. He stared at the human for a long moment, then turned and walked away. His steps were slightly faster than when he had arrived. Stayed behind. She walked up to the throne where the emperor and waited. Your radiance, I must speak freely. The emperor nodded. You have made my job much harder, she said. Humans are trying to integrate peacefully. This sends the wrong message. Looked at her. You think I am the wrong choice. I think you are a very dangerous choice, replied carefully, and I think the galaxy will remember this. That is the idea, the emperor said softly. Let them remember, let them fear. As long as they fear, they will not attack, and as long as they do not attack, everyone stays alive. Is that not what you want, ambassador? Had no answer to that. She bowed and left. And the emperor were alone now. The human finally relaxed slightly. They will try to kill you soon. I know, the emperor said. That is why you are here. Some of them will try to kill me first. I know that too. Smiled for the first time. It was not a happy smile. Good, I was starting to get bored. 2 weeks passed. The imperial court buzzed with anger like a nest of wasps. Nobles gathered in small groups and whispered. Military officers complained in the barracks. Corporate leaders sent worried messages to their investors. All of them talked about the same thing. The human bodyguard. Followed the emperor everywhere. He walked 3 steps behind and to the left. He never spoke unless spoken to. He never looked tired. He never seemed to sleep. The nobles found it disturbing. They were used to guards who stood at attention and looked impressive, just looked alert. Lord met with in a private room deep in the palace. The walls were thick. No listening devices could penetrate them, paced back and forth. This is an insult to every warrior species in the galaxy. One human replaces 300 trained guards. It is absurd. Sat in a chair built for his large frame. His 4 arms rested on his knees. I agree, but what can we do? The Emperor has made his choice. We prove the choice is wrong, said. He stopped packing and looked at the war champion. We arrange a test, a real threat. When the human fails, the Emperor will see his mistake. He will bring back the proper guards. You mean an assassination attempt? The voice was low. A controlled one, replied quickly. We hire someone skilled, someone who can get close, but we have backup ready. When the human fails, we save the Emperor ourselves. No harm comes to his radiance. The human is exposed as inadequate. Everyone wins. Thought about this. His gray skin darkened slightly. This is dangerous. If it goes wrong, we could both be executed for treason. If we do nothing, we accept a universe where one human is worth 300 of us, said. Can you live with that? The war champion stood slowly. Who would we hire? Smiled. The shadow brokers have someone perfect, a named HFY. She can phase through solid matter. No walls can stop her. No sensors can detect her when she is shifted. She is perfect. And expensive, added. I have funds, and Lady has offered to contribute. She owns weapons companies. This human threatens her business. Many nobles feel the same way. We have support. They made the arrangements. The assassination would happen during a state dinner. 40 representatives from different star systems would attend. There would be witnesses. The human's failure would be public and undeniable. The night of the dinner arrived. The great hall glowed with lights. Tables stretched across the polished floor. Nobles and ambassadors sat in elegant clothing. They ate rare foods from 100 worlds. They drank wines that cost more than starships. The Emperor sat at the high table, stood behind him. The human wore the same simple black clothing, the same old weapons. He watched the crowd with those dark, calm eyes. Ambassador sat at a table near the human delegation. She felt nervous. Something was wrong. She could not explain it, but she had learned to trust her instincts. She looked at. The human's face showed nothing, but his right hand hung closer to his gun than usual. At exactly midnight, HFY made her move. She had been hiding in the walls for hours, waiting in her phase-shifted state. Now she emerged behind a pillar. Her form flickered between visible and invisible. In her hands she held weapons designed to kill from a distance. Silent, deadly, impossible to stop. She aimed at the Emperor's head. Her finger moved toward the trigger. Moved faster than anyone could follow. He grabbed his glass of wine and threw it across the room. The liquid splashed against empty air, except the air was not empty. The wine revealed HFY's shifted form. She became visible for a moment, just a moment. That was all needed. He was already running. His legs pushed off the floor with explosive force. He covered 20 meters in seconds. His hand reached for something on his belt, not his gun, a small device. He pressed the button. An electromagnetic pulse burst out in all directions. HFY screamed. Her phase-shifting technology died. She became fully visible, solid, vulnerable. Crashed into her. They hit the floor hard. The assassin was skilled. She had trained for decades. She fought back with techniques perfected over a lifetime of killing. She landed 3 strikes that would have disabled most opponents. Did not stop. He twisted her arm at an angle that made bones crack. He swept her legs. He used her own momentum against her. In 10 seconds, HFY was face down on the floor. His knee pressed into her spine. His blade was at her throat. The entire hall sat in shocked silence. Food forgotten. Conversation stopped. Everyone stared at the human holding the assassin. But was not finished. He looked up at the crowd. His eyes scanned the nobles. Who hired her? HFY said nothing, pressed the blade slightly. A thin line of blood appeared. I can make this quick or slow, your choice. I will not talk, HFY hissed. The shadow brokers do not break contracts. His voice stayed calm. The shadow brokers break contracts all the time when their agents are captured. You know this. They will not save you. They will not remember you. You are already dead to them. The only question is whether you die here or in prison. In prison, you might survive. You might escape someday. Here, right now, you have no chance. He leaned closer. I know 14 ways to kill you in the next 5 seconds. I know 43 ways to hurt you so badly you will beg for death. I learned these methods fighting people who were much tougher than you. People who trained their whole lives to resist torture. They all talked eventually. You will too. We can do this fast, or we can do this in front of all these witnesses. Choose. Something in his voice made CourtHFY believe him. It was not anger, it was not cruelty, it was simple truth. This human had done these things before. He would do them again. He did not enjoy it. He did not hate it. It was just something he knew how to do. Lord, CourtHFY whispered, and War Champion, they hired me. Lady provided the funds. They wanted you to fail. The hall exploded with noise. Guards rushed forward, but not to help CourtHFY. They moved to arrest Lord, and the two conspirators tried to run. They did not get far. Stood up. He pulled CourtHFY to her feet and handed her to the palace guards. Then he walked back to the Emperor's side. His breathing was slightly faster than normal. That was the only sign that anything had happened. The Emperor had not moved during the entire event. He sat calmly at his table. Now he stood. Clear the hall. Arrest everyone involved. This dinner is over. The nobles left quickly. Many looked at as they passed. The looks were different now. Before, they had seen him as weak. Now they had seen what he could do. They understood. Ambassador approached the high table after most people had left. You knew, she said too. You knew something would happen tonight. I suspected, replied. Too many people watched me. Too many whispered conversations stopped when I walked past. The pattern was obvious. But you let it happen. You could have warned the Emperor, could have increased security. If I had warned him, the conspirators would have tried again later. Better to let them make their move now, when we controlled the situation, when we had witnesses. The Emperor nodded. Understands strategy. He thinks several moves ahead, like a predator tracking prey. This is why he is valuable. Looked at both of them. You used yourselves as bait. Yes, the Emperor said simply. And it worked. Now the court knows. An attack on me will fail. The human will stop it. More importantly, the human will find everyone involved. That is the real lesson tonight. Not that can fight. Many people can fight. The lesson is that can hunt. He finds his enemies. He makes them talk. That is what makes him different. Felt cold. You are not just his bodyguard. You are his interrogator, his detective, his weapon. Met her eyes. I am whatever the Emperor needs me to be. That is my job. And that does not bother you, asked, being used this way. Every bodyguard is used, replied. The difference is that I know it and I accept it, because right now the Emperor staying alive means peace. 3,000 worlds stay calm because he is in power. If he dies, there will be war. Millions will die fighting over who rules next. So yes, I am a weapon. But I am a weapon that prevents a bigger war. I can live with that. Had no response. She bowed and left. And the Emperor were alone again. The human checked the room carefully, making sure no other threats remained hidden. They will be more afraid now, the Emperor said. Yes, agreed. Fear is useful, but too much fear is dangerous. Desperate people do stupid things. You think there will be more attempts? I know there will be, said. Tonight was just the first test. The real attack will come later, when they have planned better, when they have learned from their mistakes. The Emperor smiled his thin smile. Good. I am interested to see how you handle that. Did not smile back. He just resumed his position, 3 steps behind and to the left, watching everything with those dark, patient eyes, the eyes of a hunter. 3 days after the assassination attempt, the Emperor summoned to a place few people ever saw. The Imperial archives existed deep below the palace, miles of tunnels carved through solid rock. At the end of the deepest tunnel, behind doors that needed 12 separate codes to open, the most secret records of the galaxy were kept. Followed the Emperor through the empty corridors. Their footsteps echoed off stone walls. No guards accompanied them. The Emperor trusted that alone was enough protection. After what happened at the dinner, that trust seemed wise. The archive room was huge. Holographic displays floated in the air. Data crystals lined the walls in perfect rows. Each crystal held information that could start wars or end governments. The Emperor walked to the center of the room and activated a display. "I want to show you something," the Emperor said. "Something that explains why I chose you." Images appeared in the air, star maps, battle reports, scientific data. The Emperor scrolled through them quickly until he found what he wanted. A planet appeared, blue and white and green, Earth. "Do you know what other species call your world?" the Emperor asked. "I have heard several names," replied. "They call it a death world, Category 9 on the danger scale. Most intelligent species evolve on Category 3 or 4 worlds, pleasant places, mild weather, abundant resources, safe." The Emperor waved his hand and more data appeared. "Your planet is 70% covered in salt water, water that corrodes metal and kills most species if they drink it. The temperature swings 90 degrees between seasons. The atmosphere has violent storms that can destroy cities. And the life that evolved there is designed for one purpose: killing." Watched the data scroll past. He had seen some of this before, but not all of it, not from an outside perspective. The Emperor continued. "Every major species in the galaxy evolved as prey at some point. We learned to use tools to defend ourselves. We built societies for protection. We developed technology to make our world safer. But humans evolved as both predator and prey. You had to hunt to survive, and you had to avoid being hunted. This created something unique." New images appeared. Ancient humans, running across plains, chasing animals for days without stopping. "Your species developed endurance that no other intelligent race has. You can run for hours, days even. You hunted prey by following them until they collapsed from exhaustion. This is insane. No other species does this." The Emperor pulled up more data. "Your ancestors threw rocks with enough accuracy to kill from a distance. They learned to make spears and arrows. They created weapons specifically designed to kill other humans more efficiently, because humans were not just prey to other animals. They were threats to each other. Your entire evolution was shaped by violence." Said nothing, he just watched. "Then there are the things your species domesticated," the Emperor continued. A new image appeared, a wolf. "You took one of the most dangerous predators on your planet and made it your companion. Do you understand how terrifying that is? Wolves are Category 3 hazards by galactic standards. Most species see them and run. Humans saw them and thought, 'I can make this creature love me.' And you succeeded." The Emperor walked around the holographic display. His silver scales reflected the blue light. "But the most interesting thing about humans is not your physical abilities. It is psychological. You have something no other intelligent species has. You practice violence for entertainment." Raised an eyebrow. "Sports." "Sports, boxing, wrestling, martial arts. All of these involve humans willingly hurting each other to improve their fighting skills. You call it training, we call it madness. Other species train for war when necessary, but only humans spend their entire lives practicing combat even during peace. It is built into your culture, your entertainment, your identity." The Emperor pulled up combat footage. Human soldiers in different uniforms from different eras, all fighting with the same intensity. "When humans went to war with the galaxy during first contact, we learned something terrifying. You do not fight like us. We fight with logic, we calculate odds, we retreat when defeat is certain. Humans do not retreat. You have a concept you call Pyrrhic victory, winning even if it means dying. This makes no logical sense. But it makes emotional sense to humans." The footage showed human soldiers doing impossible things, carrying wounded friends through fire, fighting for days without rest, refusing to surrender even when surrounded. One clip showed a human soldier who had been shot 7 times. He kept fighting for another 10 minutes before collapsing. Medical records showed his heart had stopped twice during those 10 minutes. His body simply refused to accept death until the mission was complete. "This is what makes humans different," the Emperor said quietly. "You are stubborn. You refuse to accept that you should lose. Your bodies fight to survive even when your minds know death is coming. You have been documented fighting while clinically dead. Your brain stops working, but your body continues on muscle memory alone. For seconds, sometimes minutes. This should not be possible, but humans do it anyway." Finally spoke, "You chose me because humans are hard to kill." "No," the Emperor corrected. "I chose you because humans are hard to scare, and because you scare others easily. Let me show you something else." The footage changed. It showed the hostage situation on Trade Station 9, the same event the Emperor had mentioned during the throne room speech, but this time could see himself. The security cameras had recorded everything. He watched himself move through the station. The pirates never saw him coming. He used maintenance shafts and air ducts. He disabled security cameras. He waited patiently for the perfect moments. When he struck, it was fast and brutal. A pipe became a weapon. A door became a trap. The station itself became his ally. "Look at how you move," the Emperor said. "You do not charge in like our warriors would. You do not rely on superior weapons. You use everything around you. You think like a predator. You find the weakness in your prey. You wait for the right moment. Then you strike without mercy." The footage showed breaking a pirate's arm with a leverage technique. No wasted motion, no hesitation, just efficiency. Most species feel guilt about violence. They struggle with the morality of hurting others, but humans have a switch. You can turn off the guilt when necessary. You can do terrible things and then go eat lunch as if nothing happened. This is extremely disturbing to other species. They think you are monsters, but really you are just practical. Watched himself on the screen. He remembered that day. The pirates had threatened to kill children first. He had not felt guilt about what he did to them. He felt satisfaction that the children survived. The Emperor was right. Humans could compartmentalize violence in ways other species could not. "So you chose me to be scary," said. "I chose you to be effective," the Emperor replied. "But yes, the fear is important. After tonight's incident at the dinner, do you know what happened? 12 different assassination contracts were canceled. 12 groups of people who were planning to kill me changed their minds, because they saw what you did to CourtHFY. They saw how fast you moved, how you knew the attack was coming, how you made her talk in front of witnesses." The Emperor turned off the display. The room went dark except for the glow from data crystals on the walls. "For 60 years I have survived by having many guards, strong guards, well-equipped guards, but I realized something. Quantity does not create safety. It creates a target. 300 guards means 300 possible traitors, 300 people who might be bribed or threatened, 300 security risks." He looked at directly. One guard means one risk, but if that guard is effective enough, if that guard is frightening enough, then the risk to me actually decreases, because potential assassins do not see 300 targets they might corrupt. They see one human they have to kill first, and after seeing what you can do, most of them decide it is not worth trying. "And what happens when they decide I am the real problem?" asked. "When they realize killing you is hard, so they should kill me instead." The Emperor smiled his thin smile. "Then they try, and you stop them. And each time you stop them, the fear grows stronger. Each time you catch a conspirator, each time you win a fight, my safety increases. You are not just a bodyguard, you are a message. The message is simple. Anyone who tries to hurt the Emperor will face a human, and humans are very good at hurting back." Thought about this. It made sense from a tactical perspective, but there was something else, something the Emperor was not saying. You are not just protecting yourself. You are making a point to the whole court. "Yes," the Emperor admitted. "For too long, the noble houses have grown comfortable. They think they can influence me through politics and money. They think they can threaten me indirectly through alliances and trade. I needed to remind them that I am not just a politician. I am an emperor. I have power they cannot match. And you are the symbol of that power. I am a weapon you point at your own court. You are a reminder, the emperor said firmly. A reminder that some problems cannot be solved with money or politics. Some problems require a human to walk into a room and break things until the problem is solved. The nobles need to remember that I have access to that solution, that I am willing to use it. They stood in silence for a moment, understood now. He was not just protecting the emperor from assassins. He was protecting the emperor from his own court, from nobles who thought they could control him, from military leaders who thought they were stronger, from corporate powers who thought they could buy him. You are using me to maintain power, said. It was not a question. I am using you to maintain peace, the emperor replied. If the nobles fear you, they will not challenge me directly. If they do not challenge me, the government stays stable. If the government stays stable, 3,000 worlds remain at peace. Yes, I am using you, but I am using you for a purpose you agreed to when you accepted this position. Nodded slowly. And when the court decides that peace is not worth having a human guard, when they decide to remove both of us. The emperor's eyes glowed slightly in the darkness. Then we will find out just how dangerous one motivated human can be. I suspect the answer will surprise them. They walked back through the tunnels in silence. When they reached the palace proper, normal life resumed. The emperor went to attend a meeting about trade agreements, followed 3 steps behind and to the left. But now understood his real purpose. He was not just protecting one person. He was maintaining an entire political system through fear. It was a heavy responsibility, but it was also clear and simple. Keep the emperor alive, keep the court afraid, keep the peace. He could do this. Humans were very good at being frightening when necessary, and had decided it was necessary. 3 months passed since the failed assassination at the dinner. The imperial court learned to live with the human bodyguard. They gave him space when he walked past. They lowered their voices when he was near. They watched him constantly but never directly. Fear had become the new normal. But fear breeds desperation, and desperate people make dangerous choices. In a private meeting room on the far side of the palace, 3 powerful people gathered. The room had been swept for listening devices twice. The walls were lined with technology that blocked all signals. What they discussed here would not be recorded. Admiral sat at the head of the table. She was human, which made her presence at this meeting surprising. She had spent 30 years in the imperial military. She commanded fleets that protected entire sectors of space. She wore her uniform with pride, and she hated what represented. We have to remove him, she said flatly. Every day that human stands beside the emperor, he makes all humans look like weapons, like we are only valuable for violence. I did not spend 3 decades building respect for my people just to have one bodyguard destroy it all. Lady nodded. She had aged since the dinner incident. The arrest of her co-conspirators had damaged her business. Governments questioned her loyalty. Her weapons contracts were being reviewed. She needed to fix this. I agree, but the direct approach failed. CourtHFY was one of the best. She failed in seconds. We need a different strategy. The third person at the table was High Priest. He represented the eternal light, a religious movement that spanned 40 worlds. His faith taught that all intelligent life was sacred. That violence was a last resort. The idea of a bodyguard whose only purpose was to hurt others went against everything he believed. The emperor has become corrupted by this human's influence. He uses fear instead of wisdom. He threatens instead of negotiating. This must end. Admiral pulled up a holographic display. It showed his daily routine, his patrol patterns, his sleep schedule, his habits. They had been watching him for months, learning everything they could. The human is good. I will not pretend otherwise. He is observant. He is skilled. He thinks several moves ahead. But he is still just one person. He has weaknesses. What weaknesses? Asked. He never seems tired. He is always alert. He has no family here that we can threaten. What leverage do we have? His humanity, replied. Humans have strong protective instincts. We evolved to protect our groups, our tribes. We cannot help it. It is built into our psychology. If we threaten civilians, he will react emotionally, and emotional reactions create mistakes. Frowned. You want to endanger innocent people. I want to expose his limitations, said firmly. We create a situation where hostages are threatened. We'll respond to save them. While he is distracted, we move against the Emperor. We prove that one bodyguard is not enough, that the Emperor's security depends on proper protocols and trained teams, not one human with a gun. They tried this plan first, a staged incident in the palace gardens, actors pretending to be terrorists, false hostages, responded exactly as predicted. He moved to save the civilians. He disabled the actors quickly and efficiently. But afterwards he reviewed the security footage. He noticed things that seemed wrong. The terrorists had hesitated. Their weapons had been set to non-lethal by default. Their tactics were sloppy. Within hours, identified the incident as staged. He reported it to the Emperor but recommended waiting. Catching the people behind the plot was more important than stopping one fake attack. Admiral learned that her plan had failed. Worse, she learned that knew it was fake. He was waiting, watching, hunting. They met again. This time the mood was darker. He is smarter than we thought, admitted. He did not just react, he analyzed. He saw through the deception. Then we need to give him something he cannot see through, said. We need to make the threat real, personal, something that will blind him to the larger plan. Admiral thought about this. She had served with humans for decades. She understood them better than most species. Humans had a weakness that was also their strength. They cared deeply about honor and loyalty. We show him the truth about the Emperor. We reveal that he has been manipulated, used as a test subject. The Emperor has been creating small dangers just to study responses. He treats the human like a laboratory animal. When learns this, he will be angry, distracted. Maybe he will even turn against the Emperor. They arranged for documents to be leaked. Secret files showing the Emperor's notes about, observations about his behavior, comments about his usefulness as a weapon. The Emperor's private thoughts revealed that he saw not as a person but as a tool. A very effective tool, but still just an object to be used. Ambassador was the one who brought these documents too. She did not want to be part of the conspiracy, but she felt he deserved to know the truth. She found him on the observation deck where he sometimes went late at night. The stars stretched out before them through the clear walls. I need to show you something, said. She handed him a data pad with the leaked files. The Emperor has been testing you, every small incident over the past months, every situation that seemed slightly dangerous. He arranged them. He was studying your reactions. Read through the files slowly. His face showed nothing. When he finished, he handed the pad back. I know. Blinks, you know, and you are not angry. Why would I be angry? Asked calmly. Every protection detail is transactional. The principal needs security. The bodyguard provides it. The Emperor needs to know I can handle different situations, so he tests me. This is logical. I would do the same if our positions were reversed. But he treats you like a weapon, like you are not a person. Looked out at the stars. Every bodyguard is a weapon. The difference is that the Emperor is honest about it. He does not pretend we are friends. He does not pretend this is about anything except effectiveness. I appreciate the honesty. It makes the relationship clear. Does it not bother you, being used this way? I am being used to keep 3,000 worlds at peace, replied. The Emperor stays in power because he is competent. If he dies, there will be war. Different factions will fight over who rules next. Millions will die, maybe billions. So yes, I am a weapon. But I am a weapon that prevents something worse. I can live with that. Studied his face. You have thought about this a lot. I think about it every day, admitted. Every time I follow him, every time I scan a crowd for threats, I ask myself if this is worth it, if being a weapon is acceptable, and every day the answer is yes, because the alternative is worse. The second phase of the conspiracy had failed, could not be turned against his principle. His loyalty was based on logic, not emotion. You could not break that kind of loyalty with hurt feelings. Admiral met with her co-conspirators one final time. The mood was grim. We have tried manipulation. We have tried deception. Both failed. There is only one option left. What option? Asked, though she already knew the answer. We kill them both, said quietly. At the same time, we make it impossible for the human to protect the Emperor because the human is also under attack. We use overwhelming force, not one assassin, not 10, 50. We hit them during the Convergence Festival when security is already stretched thin. We use professionals from different species, each one trained to counter specific human advantages. Shifted uncomfortably. This is not what I wanted. I wanted to remove the human's influence, not commit mass murder. The Emperor will not remove the human voluntarily, replied. We have tried everything else. If we want to stop this, we have to take permanent action. Yes, it is extreme. Yes, it is dangerous, but look at the alternative. Every day that human stands beside the throne, he changes how the galaxy sees humanity. We become the species that specializes in violence. The species you hire when you need something killed. Is that the legacy you want? Nodded slowly. My weapons contracts depend on the old system, large security forces, proper military protocols. If one human can replace hundreds of guards, my entire business model fails. I have employees. I have responsibilities. This has to be done. Closed his eyes. His faith taught peace, but it also taught that sometimes difficult choices were necessary for the greater good. I will pray for forgiveness, but I will support this action. They spent weeks planning. They hired specialists from across the galaxy, commandos who fought in zero gravity, assassins who could blend into any crowd, hunters who tracked by sound or heat or electromagnetic signatures. Each one was briefed on human capabilities, on how to counter human reflexes and endurance and stubbornness. The team cost more than a small fleet, but between admirals' military connections, ladies' corporate wealth, and high priests' religious network, they had the resources. They planned the attack for the Convergence Festival, the biggest celebration of the year, when nobles from across the galaxy would gather at the palace, when security would be focused on managing crowds rather than preventing infiltration, when the Emperor would be in his private chambers, resting between public appearances. The conspirators felt confident. 50 trained killers against one human and one aging emperor. The odds were overwhelming. Even if the human was as good as he seemed, even if he fought with everything he had, he could not win against these numbers. But they made one critical mistake in their planning. They assumed did not know about the conspiracy. They assumed he was focused on smaller threats. They assumed he would be surprised. Knew about the conspiracy. He had known for weeks. He had tracked the money flows. He had noticed the suspicious meetings. He had identified most of the hired assassins. He knew when they would attack. He knew where. He knew how many. And he had spent those weeks preparing the battlefield, turning the Emperor's chambers into a trap, learning every angle and every shadow, making the environment work for him instead of against him. The conspirators thought they were hunters. They thought was prey. They were wrong. The attack would come in 3 days, during the Convergence Festival, in the middle of the night, and would be ready. The Convergence Festival filled the Imperial Palace with light and music. Nobles from 3,000 worlds wore their finest clothes. They danced in the great halls. They made alliances and broke old grudges. They celebrated another year of peace under the Emperor's rule. In his private chambers, Emperor sat watching security feeds, stood beside him. Neither spoke. They both knew what was coming. The night felt heavy with waiting. "You could call for backup," the Emperor said quietly. "Palace security, military units. We could arrest the conspirators before they attack." "No," replied. "If we arrest them now, others will take their place. We need to let this happen. Let them commit. Let them fail. Then everyone will understand. Attacking you is not just difficult, it is impossible." The Emperor nodded. He trusted the human's judgment, even though that trust meant using himself as bait. "How many are coming?" 50 confirmed, maybe a few more. His voice was calm. "They will infiltrate through the maintenance tunnels. The attack starts at midnight. They expect to reach your chambers by 1 in the morning. They plan to kill you by 2. And you plan to stop them?" "Yes." 50 trained killers. Even for you, those are difficult odds. Smiled slightly. "They are difficult odds for them. They have to navigate terrain I control. They have to fight in darkness I can see through. They have to survive for hours while I hunt them. I only have to survive long enough to kill them all." The Emperor looked at his bodyguard. The human showed no fear, no doubt, just calm certainty. "You have done this before, multiple opponents in close quarters." "Many times," confirmed. "Before I came here, I worked in special operations, hostage rescue, counterterrorism, urban combat. I have fought in worse situations, and I am still alive." At midnight, the attack began. 50 assassins entered the palace through carefully mapped routes. They wore advanced armor. They carried weapons designed to kill silently. They moved in coordinated teams, each member trained for specific roles. Scouts went first, then heavy assault troops, then specialists who could counter defensive measures. They expected resistance. They expected alarms and security responses. What they did not expect was silence. The palace corridors were dark. Emergency lighting had been disabled. The assassins switched to night vision and thermal imaging. They saw nothing, heard nothing, but they felt something, a presence, a weight in the air. The first team reached a junction near the Emperor's chambers. The team leader signaled for them to split up, cover more ground, find the target faster. That was their first mistake. Watched from a maintenance shaft above them. He had cut the lights hours ago. He had disabled the security systems. He had turned this section of the palace into his hunting ground. Now he waited for the perfect moment. The team spread out. 3 went left, 3 went right, 2 stayed at the junction to provide support. Those 2 died first. Dropped from above, silent, fast. His blade cut through armor joints where protection was weakest. 2 cuts, 2 bodies. Before the others could turn, he was already moving, sliding back into the shadows. The remaining assassins opened fire. Their weapons lit up the darkness. Energy bolts scorched the walls, but was not there anymore. He had already repositioned, already planning his next strike. "Contact," the team leader shouted into his communicator. "Target engaged, requesting backup." Other teams converged on the location. 10 assassins, then 15. They surrounded the junction where their teammates had died. They watched every angle, every shadow, every possible approach. Hit them from a direction they did not expect, through a ventilation shaft that should have been too small for a person. He came out shooting. His pistol barked 3 times, 3 perfect headshots through helmet visors. Then he was moving again, rolling behind cover as return fire chased him. The assassins realized they were being hunted. They had come here to kill an emperor. Instead, they were fighting for their own survival. "Regroup," someone ordered. "Form defensive positions, watch each other's backs." They pulled back to a wider corridor. 30 assassins now. They set up overlapping fields of fire, motion sensors, proximity alarms. Nothing could approach without being detected. Did not approach, he let them wait, let them get nervous, let their adrenaline spike and then fade. Human endurance was not just physical, it was psychological. He could stay calm and focused for hours, days if necessary. Most species could not. After 20 minutes of waiting, the assassin started to relax. Maybe the human had retreated. Maybe he was calling for help. Maybe they had time to reach the Emperor after all. Then the lights came back on, bright, blinding after the darkness. The assassin's enhanced vision systems overloaded. They were blind for crucial seconds. Use those seconds well. He had positioned explosive charges throughout the corridor during his weeks of preparation, not powerful enough to cause serious damage, just enough to create chaos, smoke, confusion. The charges went off, the floor buckled, the ceiling rained dust and debris, the assassins scattered, their careful formations broke apart. Moved through the chaos like a ghost, he fought with brutal efficiency, a knife to the throat, a broken neck, a point-blank shot. He used the environment as a weapon, pushed one assassin into another, used a damaged support beam as a club, turned their own confusion against them. 5 minutes later, 10 more assassins were down. The survivors fled in different directions. This was hour 3 of the long night. The remaining 40 assassins split into smaller groups. They abandoned the plan to work together. Now it was about survival, about finding the Emperor before the human found them. But had prepared for this too. He had mapped every route to the Emperor's chambers. He knew where they would go. He set traps, simple things, a wire at ankle height, a loose floor panel, a door that locked from the outside, not meant to kill, just meant to slow them down, to separate them, to make them easier to hunt one by one. By hour 4, another dozen assassins had fallen, some to attacks, some to friendly fire in the darkness, some to the traps he had set. The survivors were exhausted, terrified. They had trained for combat, but not for this, not for being prey. In his chambers, the Emperor watched it all on security feeds that had secretly kept operational. He saw his bodyguard moving through the palace like a predator, never stopping, never slowing. The human had been fighting for 4 hours. He had been injured multiple times, cuts, burns, one broken rib, but he kept moving, kept hunting. His body simply refused to accept that it should stop. "Incredible," the Emperor whispered. "He is doing exactly what I knew he could do, and it is still terrifying to watch." Hour 5 arrived. The assassins had reached the Emperor's chambers, 18 survivors. They had paid a terrible price to get here. More than half their team was dead or disabled, but they were so close. They could finish the mission, kill the Emperor, prove that one human was not enough protection. They breached the chamber doors with explosives, rushed inside with weapons ready, found the Emperor sitting calmly in a chair, watching them on a small screen. He had been monitoring their approach, waiting. "You are too late," the Emperor said simply. Appeared in the doorway behind them. He looked terrible. His clothes were torn. Blood covered his face and hands. Some of it was his, most was not. He was breathing hard, moving slower than before, but his eyes were still alert, still focused. "Last chance," said. His voice was rough from 4 hours of combat. "Surrender now, live to see trial, or try to finish your mission and die here." The assassins chose to fight. They had come too far, lost too many. They could not go back empty-handed. The battle in the Emperor's chambers lasted 37 minutes. It was brutal and desperate. The assassins had numbers, had desperation. He fought like humans had fought for millions of years, with everything he had, with no thought of personal safety. Only the mission mattered: keep the Emperor alive. He used the Emperor's furniture as weapons, threw ceremonial sculptures at heads, improvised shields from decorative armor, turned the chamber itself into his ally. Every piece of decoration became a potential tool or weapon. The assassins had better equipment, better training from a technical standpoint, but had something they did not. He had evolved to do this. His ancestors had hunted mammoths with sharpened sticks, had fought cave bears with stones, had survived by being too stubborn to die even when they should. That evolutionary history saved him. When a blade pierced his side, he kept fighting. When his left arm was temporarily disabled, he switched to his right. When he was knocked down, he rolled and came up swinging. His body simply would not quit. One by one, the assassins fell. They were better fighters individually, but was better at refusing to lose. He would not stop, could not stop, not while the Emperor still needed protection. When dawn broke, palace security finally breached the lockdown. They flooded into the Emperor's chambers ready for a massacre. What they found made them stop in shock. 47 assassins were scattered throughout the palace, dead or unconscious. The last 3 were in the Emperor's chambers. They had surrendered. They knelt with their hands behind their heads. Their weapons lay on the floor. Stood over them, he held the Emperor's ceremonial sword. The blade was covered in blood. He swayed slightly. His injuries were severe, but he had refused to collapse until the threat was over. The Emperor was unharmed. He sat in his chair looking calm, as if this had been an ordinary evening. "Secure the prisoners," the Emperor ordered. "Get medical teams here, now." Medical staff rushed forward. They tried to reach first. He waved them off. "Check the Emperor, I am fine." "You are not fine," the chief medic said. "You have been stabbed twice. Multiple lacerations, possible internal bleeding. You need immediate treatment." After insisted, "Check the Emperor first." The Emperor stood, walked over to his bodyguard, looked him in the eyes. "I am unharmed. You did your job, now let them do theirs." Only then did allow the medics to approach. Only then did he allow himself to acknowledge the pain. He collapsed as soon as he gave permission. His body had been running on willpower alone. Now that the mission was over, it could finally stop. The medics worked quickly. They stabilized him, stopped the bleeding, fixed what could be fixed immediately. The damage was extensive but not fatal. He would survive. They transported him to the medical bay. Hours of surgery followed. The Emperor waited outside the entire time. He would not leave until he knew his bodyguard would live. 3 days later, woke up in a hospital bed. Every part of his body hurt. Machines monitored his vital signs. Bandages covered most of his skin, but he was alive. The Emperor sat in a chair beside the bed. "You had me worried." "Did the job," replied. His voice was weak. "You did more than the job. You ended a conspiracy. You showed the entire court what happens when they move against me. The surviving assassins talked. We arrested everyone involved. Admiral, Lady, High Priest, dozens of others. The court is terrified now. They understand." "Good," said simply. "The attack is being called the Long Night," the Emperor continued. 6 hours, 1 human against 50 trained killers. You won. Songs will be written about this. Legends will spread. Every species in the galaxy will hear the story." Closed his eyes. "That was not the goal. The goal was keeping you alive. Which you accomplished. But you also accomplished something else. You proved beyond doubt that humans are not to be underestimated. That fear of your species is justified. This will have consequences." "Bad consequences?" asked. "Mixed," the Emperor admitted. "Some species will avoid humans now, fear them. Others will respect them, want to hire them. Humanity's position in the galaxy just changed significantly. You should be aware of that." Ambassador visited later that day. She stood at the foot of the bed, looked at all the bandages, all the machines. "You nearly died." "But I did not," pointed out. "You proved every stereotype about humans being violent," continued. "You confirmed what they already believed, that we are dangerous, that we solve problems with force." "I solved a problem that required force," replied calmly. 50 assassins cannot be negotiated with. They came to kill. I stopped them. That was the job. And now every species sees humans as weapons, as the galaxies attack dogs." Looked at her steadily. "Would you prefer I had let them kill the Emperor, let 3,000 worlds fall into war, millions dead, also we could maintain a pretense of being peaceful?" Had no answer, because he was right. The alternative would have been worse. "We are what we are," said quietly. "Humans evolved on a violent world. We learned to be good at violence because we had to be. We cannot change our history. We can only decide what we do with it. I chose to use my skills to prevent war. If that makes other species afraid of humans, maybe that is not such a bad thing. Fear can prevent conflicts before they start." 3 weeks later returned to duty. He stood beside the Emperor's throne. Same position, same simple clothes, same old weapons, but everything was different now. When nobles approached the throne, they gave much more space. They did not meet his eyes. Their voices were quieter when he was near. The fear had grown from respect to genuine terror. Everyone had heard the stories of the long night. Everyone knew what one human had done to 50 trained killers. Ambassador watched from the diplomatic section. She understood now. The galaxy did not fear humans because they were violent. Many species were violent. They feared humans because humans were effective at violence, because humans would follow through completely, because humans simply would not stop when they should. A new ambassador arrived at court, young, nervous. An aide whispered warnings about approaching the Emperor, warnings about the human bodyguard. "Just one guard?" the new ambassador asked. "Is that not insufficient protection?" The aide looked at standing beside the throne, remembered the security footage from the long night, remembered seeing 47 bodies, remembered the human fighting for 6 hours without rest. "One is more than enough," the aide replied quietly. "Trust me, one is too many." Heard this exchange, did not react, did not smile, just kept scanning the room for threats, doing his job, protecting the Emperor, being the weapon that prevented war through fear. The Emperor noticed listening, leaned over slightly. "Do you regret accepting this position?" Thought about it, about the injuries, the fear in people's eyes, the weight of being seen as a monster, about Ambassador's disappointment, about how he had confirmed every violent stereotype about humans. Then he thought about 3,000 worlds at peace, about a conspiracy ended, about an emperor alive to continue his rule, about millions who would not die in a succession war. "No," said finally, "I do not regret it." And that was the truth. He was a weapon, a symbol, a source of fear. But he was also the thing that stood between civilization and chaos. That was enough. That would always be enough. The Emperor nodded, turned back to his court, began the day's business, and stood beside him, 3 steps behind and to the left, watching everything, ready for anything. The galaxy had learned its lesson. One human was enough. One human was terrifying. And that, more than any army, kept the peace.